And hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to week 4 of the EMEA LoR Aegis Team League. I'm Zero, and I'm here with Hanimore. Hello, Hanimore. How are you doing?
Yeah. Always good. Couldn't be better.
And we are here for the fourth week of action in this European League of Legends of Runeterra. And today we are scheduled to see some very, very strong teams on their own. As always, almost every single player of these teams is very, very well known. Maybe there are a few outsiders, but anyone on every team basically is a top player of Legends of Runeterra, especially in the EU server. And I'm super excited to see what they brought up.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited as well. We got Swap Blue, we got Wombats, we got so many elite. And talking about, Swap Blue, we've got Victor Lee Sin. This this PowerPoint or deck list is also sponsored by Runeterra AR. But we've got Victor Lee Sin, which is a kind of a weird I don't know, it's a really weird bring because it got really heavily nerfed. And this list is almost completely different to what it used to be. So this list right now tries to target maybe control, and it does that with ambush and using these powerful engines like Ballistic Bot and Victor. However, you can't really target aggro anymore because of those nerfs. There's also some really weird changes. We've still got two will, but we've cut down on calculated creations. They added a Notify in, which is kind of good for some certain matchups. Helps your aggro matchup a bit more because we lost that really stability with Ballistic Bot.
Mhm.
And, you know, those powerful engines can kind of just snowball the game. And it's like, when it goes off, it goes off.
Also, it's like an OTK list, it has the power to just one shot you with Lee if you get late enough into the game, even though Lee cannot get overwhelmed and can use it as a stabilizer. You just have one free challenge plus removal on an enemy unit every single attack turn. And as you said, Victor maybe may have been nerfed with ambush nerf, but still super scary unit.
Yeah, I 100% agree. This looks a lot more refined to what Sir Turman used to play. If you don't know where this list really originated from, it first, came in light because of Sir Turman. And I think over the format, they've realized you don't need to be on free calculated creations, you don't need to be on free time trick. But this also gives you the availability to kind of tick for your worst matchups now, which is because the Ballistic Bot is a zero free. Aggro is a lot harder to deal with.
I absolutely agree, especially since, as you mentioned, you don't have that power from this ballistic bot immediately to go and remove enemy units and to go and block immediately units with one power. Because the ballistic bot now takes a little bit of time to take off in terms of attack damage and in terms of trading power.
Right, exactly.
And next we have the Feeds Aphelios list from Salty Simon. Salty Simon, an REO, Runeterra Exiled One's player, brings this very peculiar list. Feeds Aphelios with two copies of Papercraft Dragon. This list is looking lit because I think you just go for the OTK with the feeds and double attack. This list is super nasty to deal with, can also aggro you because you can see you have a lot of units, especially the Grandfather Fay and the Librarian, to draw into more of your spells, more into your buffs, and into your top end, which has a lot of target buffs, a lot of value. And I think this can very well be one of the nastiest lists to deal with because there aren't, especially with the nerfs to many of the more mid-range archetype last patch. This list might have been like a dark horse into the meta. You just go and Feeds is unstoppable more than ever now.
Right. I somewhat agree. I also think it's actually highly overrated. So
Mhm.
you're saying that there's like, a good place for or a good niche for a mid-range deck, and this could be it. So it looks like Salty Simon has gone, hey, I don't really want as much tempo anymore, and I'm gonna go more for that OTK, like you said, which isn't always good. Like sometimes you can snowball deftly with the Liberian into Rainbow Fish, but that's only for some certain matchups. for the other matchups, you really want to focus heavily on something like tempo. If you don't really know what tempo is, they're trying to just snowball with the lantern, try and go wide, and just keep up the pressure to a point where you're just chipping them down. And like you're saying, extra papercraft is good, but it's not good when you draw it early, right? Because you really need to stabilize, or you're never ever going to be ahead.
Yeah, it's a brick. Like I had a game like last week when I drew into both of my papercraft dragon on Mulligan, and it was basically auto loss from there.
Right, exactly. And like you can kind of get back into the game with a Aphelios, but this deck is all about making a presence on turn 1 to turn 3. If you can't do that, yeah, you can have some like, comeback potential with those OTK cards they have, but you're not going to kill them ever if you don't chip early on.
Yeah, that's true, and and that's why you also main deck a lot of early game units, as you mentioned. Gleaming Lantern is one of them. The other is Grandfather Fair, which of course allows you to get to go very wide with the old cats and go very wide and scary, especially against some other mid ranges list like Pantheon. Pantheon Yumi heavily suffers something like a swarm from Bundle City because it goes very very big, but it does not go big enough to threaten Bundle City.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And you do have the Targon cards. Those are like really good utility wise. One Hush, you don't actually see that much, but it's just good to, be safe. And also it can be used as a combat trick. A lot of people don't utilize Hush as a combat trick and it can just blow out the game. So I really like these additions. Kind of go more for the OTK route, which could be detrimental, but Aegis is all about, scouting. So if they have a specific lineup to target, then this might just do wonders for Salty Simon.
Yeah, also as you mentioned, one of Ash can be also used as a scarecrow here in a format when, of course, you have open lists, so the opponent knows you have one of Ash and might be forced to play around it in some cases.
Definitely. I mean, we remember the good old days when we never wanted to see Hush. And like Hush is one of those cards when you're like, oh man, if I like play into it, I'm just losing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good addition, I think, especially for the format where you have open deck lists.
Yeah, and basically, all the deck lists that we've seen so far are value centered. A little bit less this last one from Salty Simon, but it has, of course, a lot of cards that generate more cards, like the Sprout, the one mana bar spell that can, of course, generate more Fez in your hand, more cards to be played. You have the Grandfather Fair to generate more units, more cheap early game units. You have the Conchologist that we know is a super, super strong and scary card because it gives you more options. And I think it's a trend that we will see a lot tonight. Value centered deck lists.
Yeah, the sweeps are really interesting. I mean, Aphelios can kind of just stabilize the mid game, and we've had like a lot of control lately, but now it's like slightly, going more to the mid range. Like I've seen so many people bring really good mid range decks, and they're just beating this control lineups. So there's a natural switch that's making a lot of sense, and it makes so much sense that Salty Simon has brought Physiophilios.
And as you mentioned, mid-range list that beat control lineup. I remember landmark-based mid-range lists, especially like Talia Ziggs or even Malphite Talia. I've seen have some degree of success against those kind of control lists because control decks usually cannot kill landmarks, and even if they kill, most of the landmarks that you're main decking give you the benefit from being destroyed as well. And that's a problem also, for example, for many of the for Caitlyn Ezreal into many of the landmarks deck, where they cannot just scorch dart your landmark because it's giving you a 5/3 fearsome anyways. So this is a trend that we are seeing in the meta right now. Shift towards mid range, and especially those kind of mid range decks that with the tool that the game gives you cannot be punished as heavily as like a Mono Demacia that we were used to see like 1 year and a half ago.
Good old Bannerman, right? Yeah, it just loses harder to aggro. So I think some people are kind of scared to bring like Talia Ziggs and Mono Shurima at the moment just because it is so susceptible to aggro. And like, you know, you can bring other good decks as well, like Pantheon. And Pantheon is just like good into it. Obviously you could skill diff it, but it's like it's to a point where you don't really want to be versing that, right? Because you really want to hit those good matchups of control. And a lot of people are just jumping off the bandwagon of control, and it's like a bit weirder of a bring to bring.
And I just see that we're gonna follow SWAT Blue for the first game, and apparently the first matchup that we're going to see is Dalton from REO into SWAT Blue.
Great. I haven't seen Delson play for a while, and they've brought quite a good lineup that we were just talking about. Talia Ziggs, Mono Shirima, and Mono Viego. The kind of it's a very common lineup at the moment. You know, triple Shirima, and it does a couple things, right? It's such a good mid range deck that it beats control, and the power level of this region, like Shirima, is so strong that it has so many good matchups at the moment. Just because you have beyond utility. Quicksand
Yes.
is good, and you can see it, Zero. Swap Blue brought the Lee Sin Victor, and there's one card that you never want to see, and that is Quicksand.
Yes, exactly. Like Quicksand completely destroys all of your game plan. And as you mentioned, Shurima's power level right now is insane. He's literally over 9,000. And I still remember when there was only the first Shuriman expansion out that we used to complain because Shurima power level was so low. And Riot had to add basically super insanely strong card like the Ruined Runner and the Merciless Hunter on the following expansion. And now we are in basically the opposite state of the game, where Shurima, especially with the Quicksand buff, is insanely powerful, played basically in everything that you can. Like you have to bring every Shuriman deck that you want because it also counters control. And your Dalton has brought a control counter lineup against a control lineup from SWAT Blue.
Yeah, you must be super happy as Delson, right? You're seeing free control lineups, and you're just bringing the absolute boogeyman. The
Yeah.
thing with like the thing with Shurima as well, I wouldn't even say the cards are strong. I just feel like every other region's cards have been nerfed, right?
Yes.
That was the similarity with Demacia last format. I wouldn't even say like Demacia was strong. It's just every other card in the game's like getting nerfed, and you're kind of seeing this that there's just this one powerhouse in a certain region, like Delton's Shurima, and we're kind of exploiting that in the meta. And like right now, this is like really good for Delton's favor.
Yeah, we have triple Shurima versus triple Ionia, but I think Shurima is a bit stronger, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. You know you don't really have a backbone in Ionia. It's a very heavy support region, and when you have stuff like PNZ to try and be the backbone of that deck for the region, it kind of struggles, right? And then Targon is like another support region. So when you kind of mix those together, it's like got a specific game plan in mind, and it's like you can go for those control type decks with those regions because it's really easy to build control, especially if you focus that with utility. But it also just falls off a lot, and it depends how you draw. Because I don't even know if Swap Blue will get to turn 10 with like Karma or something, right?
No, I don't think it's gonna be easy, especially and yeah, especially thinking about this. What will you ban if you're SWAT Blue? Because every single of the opponent's decks are a nightmare for your list. But I think maybe the more vulnerable one is the Viego for some
I
reason.
yeah, I think we banned Ziggs Talia, even though it can brick quite easily. That's just because it's the fastest out of a bunch.
Hmm.
Because Viego is a bit slow, right?
Yep.
Like you've got all these vulnerable units that can kind of chip away at their own board, but you have to play them kind of reactively. And if not, if you play them proactively, it gives like Swap Blue a lot of understanding when they can play their important back row units like Aphelios. So it kind of wins around turn 8, turn 9, and it uses Hourglass in a way where you can get like 2 Viego or just keep it on the board, and that might be Swap Blue's, saving grace. They might actually have a chance to just pop out Karma in that matchup.
Yeah, well, I don't think Monoshirima, and instead SWAT Blue opts to ban Monoshirima. Probably because of the same reasoning that you did. Like, Yes, Talia Ziggs is the fastest, but can brick quite easily. So we are hoping for the brick on Zigstalia, and even if Zigstalia doesn't brick and just steamrolls us, we can just win twice against Viego.
For sure. And we see the ban on Kindred Viego. I think, you know, that's probably a good ban. You know, there's a lot of healing, there's a lot of, you know, removal spells, but not only that, you have Kindred. Kindred kind of just neutralizes anything on like turn 4, and if you try and get Ziggs out, maybe Viego out, you have to deal with that Kindred, and it's not fun. So I really like this ban from Delton.
Yeah, and now we'll have to see some of the more spicy matchups because we have seen Viego Kindred before. I personally haven't seen in tournaments Victor Lee Sin, especially in this patch, and I haven't seen Karma in a while. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, LoR FR has been doing a great job with bringing spicy lists. Not only that, but they've had a surprising roster change. I can't say their name. You could probably correct me, Zero, but they brought in Azutel. Obviously I butchered that, but
I
if you
have
don't,
no idea, so I
okay.
have no idea of the pronunciation, so I'm gonna say yes, it's correct.
I don't think it is at all. But yeah, they brought in one of the most prolific players on Ionia from last season, and that was AK. If you don't know, they got 1500 LP, and you know that might actually help them in the group stage. But we're in the game now, and we see the swap blue is on this Karma deck against Talia Ziggs. Talia Ziggs, though, with Dalton's hand, is pretty fast, but Aetherius is so good to neutralize or stabilize already on turn 3.
Yeah, especially since you are gonna play Affiliates on turn 3 with Nightfoot because of the very good one drop that you have just drawn into instead of Slot Blue. So Affiliates will be pivotal to neutralize basically anything that can come into play because you can immediately play the Gravitum potentially if you need.
This hand is perfect. We have the 2-1 to really stop that landmark to be a threat on Aetherius. And the most important thing is the Nopify. The only time you sandbag Aetherius on free is to play around right? Because like what Delton wants to do is they want to kind of pass here or give initiative just so they can threaten this idea of Aetherius to die. If you get that out of the way and you can slow the game down much as possible, it's quite a threat. But this is another better line. Delton's smart and wants to be proactive with this and make Aetherius even harder to play.
Ooh, but instead of Swat Blue, we have the Invoke, we have the Solari Priestess into potentially either the Golden Sister or the Meteor Shower, I would think. Two super strong choices on their own. Meteor Shower more on the side of board control, removals, or Sisters. Preservation at its highest with the Lifesteal 4-3 Sister, which is gonna be super important here because if you put such a body with the Lifesteal in this game, especially since it's gonna be the elusive one to get targeted potentially by an eventual landmark, this is insanely strong from Sedu's What Blue.
I really like the Golden Sisters pickup because like all of these slow spells aren't really good into right or Hourglass, so we can't really be playing those cards, especially with such a minor tax. That I really like just getting an insurance of health.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we just set up the Achilles turn. We basically can play it for free, as you mentioned. We have the mana to back up and Opify against the right of the Arcane. And if Delphine plays anything, we can just remove one of its units from board. So we are basically taking 2 damage just from the Ziggs passive, and no more this round.
Go ahead, light the fuse.
Right, but flip Ziggs on 4 is scary, you know? We're talking about Swap Blue not really doing much till turn 10. It's a lot of kind of, I heal, I'm going to try and stop you as much as possible, not take any damage. But Ziggs being on the backline is actually really scary because you can set up some really crucial and critical plays that kind of pressure you to the point where you actually can't keep up. But, you know, we've got caster vision and that's not happening at the moment. However, it will be a potential threat later on.
Yeah, it will be absolutely one of the potential threats. Right now, though, just using our Crescent Strike, our value, given us by the Spaces Catcher, we survive.
Right. That's huge. You know, keeping this palm is really important. It plays around Arsenal if you keep palm. You know, because like the only one way you might lose in this position if you can like heal up and be okay is the Arsenal later on. Even though Dalton doesn't have it in hand, that's definitely something you have to think about.
Yeah. And of course, especially with something like the Absolver coming down, potentially your next attacker for Dalton. Yes, we have the first Wheel of Ionia to answer it properly. But aside from that, it's gonna be super scary on the next one, or even if Italia flips. I don't know the Dalton's list, but if there is even one Magus, that can be super scary too.
Now is one.
Right. So we're talking about this Golden Sister, and it's being quite the nuisance, really. I think Dalton really needed this time to get these double devouts out, but threatening double healing right now is just so good for Swap Blue.
Yeah. Dalton drawing into more draw, so not perfect for him, but also like could have gone worse. He would have preferred most likely like a Preservarium to not waste any space on board. But yeah, after the attack, he's gonna have enough space on his side of the board to also play the 3-cost spell effectively. But you're starting to run low on resources. Whereas What Blue has his hand full of cards, his hand full of answers for our potential attacks. We are
Right.
being chilly.
Moonlight has illuminated
Yeah, we're more than being killing. Double star shaping can actually just be so polarizing, right? Because Dalton might think that they have game, and then out of nowhere for 10 mana, you just heal for 8, and you're like, oh, okay. And you can't really play around it rather than dealing 20 damage to them.
Yeah, and not only that, right? You don't only yell 8 mana, but you get more value, you get some finishers, and some really big one at that.
Right. And maybe that's what Swaplu's going right now. They understand that they might need to actually put the pressure on. Take this 4 damage, heal back up, and get this big Celestial out.
Ooh. I think we're going for the overrun turn, which would not be lethal still.
It's close to it though with Ziggs. So I like this play, but we definitely see this. Actually, no, this is really crucial. This could actually win them the game, Zero.
Yes, this could win the game because we have also the right of negation to back it up potentially. Ooh, this is super scary. What Blue has to count every single point of health.
Right. Swap Blue has to do maths here. Don't look at the Oracle Eye. Get your pen and paper out, try and figure this out, and find the most logical sense. And I think it is star shaping, right? Because the only way we lose is based on this, right? And ooh, they play the palm though. This is just gonna get absolutely demolished by this right, this deny, if you say.
Yeah, this
Wow.
right of negation. Man, this is a lot of damage. This is putting What Blue to 2 HP. And now just a destruction of one landmark could spell the end.
And you might be saying, "Hey, we've got double healing. This is okay," but it really isn't. You don't want to be using this crucial turn for healing, right? You really need to be using it for other things, and it's like you can't be stabilizing on board and just heal. It doesn't really work like that. So that gives the opportunity for Dalton to just snowball the rest of this game into their favor.
Yeah, especially because, yes, as you mentioned, we are spending 5 mana. Yes, we heal 4, but we are not putting anything on the board. Yes, we're getting value, we're getting more cards in hand, we're getting finishers, but those aren't really doing anything at the moment.
It's going to be close. I think Swap Blue can still be okay. They do have like Goat, and they also Gravitum. Like, the Gravitum's really smart here. But if Delton gets, one of their power draws and just absolutely put as much gas on the pedal on turn 9 before the Karma comes out, it will be very difficult for kind of Swap Blue to survive. And like, look, we have Starship in hand and we're forced to use that next turn, right? And that just makes Karma kind of bad.
Yeah, exactly. Especially since Karma. No, oh no, this is gonna be a lot of damage. I was thinking maybe there is a chance. Maybe there is a chance that Dalton can win this game, but this is a lot of damage coming down with the right of the Arcane top decked now. You
We
can basically do whatever you want.
I would like to say so, but Ionia is the home of denies. We saw a deny before, and that was from Shurima, but Swaplu is a better deny, and it's a 2-mana one. A 2-mana one that can affect anything that is free or lower, and this Arcane is not going to get really any potential to shine here. But at the same time, we lose on a blocker. So I'm saying it's bad, but it's not that bad. It's still decent because now we can't play our goat. Wait, this is
And our open
close,
attack
yeah.
is even scarier now. Our open attack could very well spell the game, even though we have one more star shaping. We have potentially the Will of Ionia to protect us, but this is scary.
It's not that scary, actually. I mean, so we're going to be star shaping in Will here, right?
Yes.
We block a free one, we block a free. That's only dealing 2 damage, and we're healing. We don't even actually need to be using anything else, to be honest, unless we want to play around Unleash. So we're talking about like the potential of Swaplu just losing this game, but hey, I think Swaplu is actually in a really good position now that, Delson has to really be on the back foot and like just find whatever they can. Like, we're saying this was bad, but it's actually really
But
good
we have
for
scaled.
Swaplu now.
Yes, we said the win condition is scaling from Sedu's Water Blue, and we are turn 10. Next round is turn 10. We can play the Karma and have double star shaping if you want.
Yeah, right. Well, we kind of underestimated Swaplu. We're giving the praise to Delvin so much this game, even playing around any potential burst from the Ziggs when played. And, we don't get the Omega healing from Karma, but we still have this guiding. This is actually looking not bad. I mean, we put, a possible vulnerability on Karma next turn, but this is looking really nice for them, actually.
Yes, and we see Dalton at the end of the rope doesn't have that much outs left in the game. And I think here, Sambars could very well spell the end of the game.
Wow.
While I'm getting some updates on the other series, and Salty Simon is in at a 1-1 situation, 1-1 state versus Awi Zotel, and BB Broken Bull is losing 1-0 versus BBTV.
Right. I wanted to bring
to be the only game that is 0-0.
Right. I want to just bring it back a bit, okay? Because there's some crazy stuff happening right there. Explosive? No. The Zig spell comes out of nowhere, top decks, punishes the OTK, or not even the OTK, but the finisher from Swap Blue. They're like, no, I'm not playing to survive, I'm playing to win. However, Delton top deck the Zig spell. And because of that, I actually think this is just lethal now.
Wait, this is lethal. This is just over because everything goes down, and even when it comes through, you can just play. You have lethal with Ziggs. GG.
Yeah, you just GG. Like, we're talking about playing Survive, and Swaplu saw the play to win line, but the top deck Ziggs spell just rolled this potential chance to win, and Delson gets it. Wow. We kind of were talking about all the other matchups going on, but that was definitely an interesting turn of events that it looked like both players had such a good chance to win that game.
Yeah, let's just say Zotblue saw the greedy out, so they out-win immediately to not drag the game farther. And instead of taking the safest route, instead of just developing on board, putting down his engine, the Karma, which was leveled, and getting all that potential healing from the next turn and everything like that, decided to go for the immediate win, and instead he got punished. And from nowhere, Dalton was able to win. And I think now those what blue is in a little bit of a more favorable matchup, no? At least in theory.
Yeah. So like Victor kind of can get vulnerable, but if you find all your engines
hands make
early,
quick work.
it's should be okay, especially because you have Will. I do want to slightly talk about that last game though. I do think it was correct from Swab Blue, you know, because you could just be potentially behind all the time,
Yeah.
and the chances for them to have like two spells there are really unlikely with a free card hand. But yeah, back into this game, we're taking a lot of damage here. Just utilizing that 5-2, really interesting here. Understanding that, you know, you can't really play any units when you're getting this engine out. And, you know, Delta's being aggressive. Understanding that the way you can win here is just hoping that you be aggressive as possible and make these fearsomes become very, very clutch later on.
Yeah, Swat Blue developing the ballistic boat, his engine already on board, discarding the first ignition to get all the value out of it with a double elusive poro and start chipping down at Delton's Nexus. Delton doesn't have life still in his deck, doesn't have almost any way, I think, besides maybe some Wild Fists to heal a little bit, but can have the control of the board, especially with this Hydravine top deck. When Hydravine comes down, it may very well be GG.
Yeah, we might be spelling it a bit too quick, but yeah, it's definitely a huge threat. There's a lot of cool things you can do with Mono Viego as well. You see this version played a lot more because you just have so much more pressure, and well, Shroom is just a better region than Ione at the moment. But there are good, like, interesting players, and it kind of comes down to like hourglassing and double Viegoing. And when you're in a matchup against like Swaplu right now, that's a very high chance, right? Because the only real utility you can do to remove that possible play is Will.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, like you also play Shurima instead of Ionia with this mono Viego list because you're basically just playing 6 Viegos because of the right of negation, right of calling, which
Exactly.
doesn't cost you much or anything in this kind of list, especially when you play like the Kamavorian Soldier or other elusives, and you can just suck the elusive to get one Viego in hand, which is super strong to play.
Yeah, not only that, but it's also actually a positive thing at sometimes. Because you might actually need to get that missed rate out, or the missed out. Or you might actually just need the +1/+1 on Viego. It can be very, very clutch at times. I've been playing this deck a lot, and the amount of times that I just need to kill my unit and not even need the second Viego is so regularly.
And what do you think about the two atrocity that Delton is playing? Because I've been seeing this deck list both with atrocity and without atrocity.
So I don't like two atrocity. So me and Fake Hero, Quick Tangent, we've been testing this deck list a lot, and we came to the conclusion that one Atro is good, but you don't actually need two Atro just because of Quicksand. Like, Quicksand looks like it's a utility card that can kind of just mitigate any potential threat, but it's also a win con. You know, you kind of have this burst speed, what do you call it?
Attack reduction.
Yeah. And it reduces, because it reduces the attack of any potential fearsome blockers, you can steal games out of nowhere. Right?
I
Because
just
you
got
have like,
told- Production just
yeah,
informed me that Salty Simon came back into the series from 0-1 to 2-1. So GG Salty Simon for the comeback.
yeah. That's really good to hear. So that means it has Delton to kind of just ensure this win, and they're going to win the whole set. But you know, this game's looking really interesting. We're talking about engines from Swap Blue, and this is what we're getting, right? This
Yes.
is what we need in this matchup.
Look at Victor. Victor is getting bigger and bigger and is getting access to very powerful keywords, like, for example, now Quick Attack. Quick
Right?
Attack here is so strong.
And Lee Sin just being a will. Lee Sin also just being a will of like Ionia is going to be so annoying for Delton. You know, because you're going to be chipping her down damage, and also just removing the High Divine off the board so many times, or even the Viego if that.
Yeah, and especially the Hydrovine is such a strong type of play. Like just recalling an Hydrovine, 7 mana as an investment for Dalton is so much mana.
It's excruciating amount of mana. That's your whole turn. And the thing is, you know, Mono Viego really wants to play Hydro at 7, but it's like you can't really because you want this deny up at the same time.
I mean, you can, but
Ooh.
in very late turns. And we just milled the listen. Okay, we started to
That-
mill our cards, and we got punished by that, milling a champion.
Yeah, it's not a huge punish. I mean, like we would have had a 0 mana spell from the secondly sin available, which could be enough damage to win this turn. But I it's really hard to manage your hand with this amount of engines, right? Because you get +2 cards, and if there's a lot of passing going on, you can just like forget about it. And this is definitely what happened.
And right now, Dalton is hoping that, that there is no elusive keyword draw from instead of this Victor, because it would be super scary already as the impact already now rolling even Scout. Elusive is the only thing that is missing to just declare a lethal. And
Right.
luckily
But
for Dalton, there is no ambush either in the hands of Swat Blue.
right, so we could actually push a weird amount of damage for lethal, but it's not it's not practical because we can double twin here and like set up double mystic, but that loses quicksand, it loses to right. There's a lot of things that it loses to, but like if we were playing a solitaire deck where the opponent couldn't react, that's definitely what we would go for.
Yeah. And of course, as you mentioned, we cannot commit right now this any of the um, how is it called, or the twin disciplines on the elusives, because we are afraid, of course, of the quicksand. And if quicksand comes down, and we have committed so much mana, we have committed so much, and prophetically maybe quicksand gets stopped by Dalton, as we mentioned it.
Yeah, it's actually getting pretty close here. I think if Delton's smart, they can find lethal here. You know, they might need to understand that they can't do anything else besides just double Atro. This looks really a weird play, but they might be in a weird position where they're like, hey, I can't play around will or deny, right? Uh, but obviously Dalton's being smart here. They understand that they need to just play the high run. They have the right up this way as well to play around a potential will. And you know, just trying to snowball out, trying to get this Viego flipped as well.
Yeah, and it would be really nice to know how much is the Viego at in terms of level of condition, but I think it's like around 6 or 7 attack damage. So it's still quite a long way to level up. I think at least 2 turns from now. And now we see Dalton feeling his board, Swatable feeling his board, and now Dalton has to block basically everything.
100%. But and they can't even pass here either. I mean, they have to pass because like this attack just gets absolutely stopped by a ballistic bot. You know, imagine just trying to attack with the 7/6 and this 2-drop is just denying that. It's absolutely horrible. And we're threatening this board so much as well because now we have an elusive to just go over the top right. We have the quicksand, but this looks so good for Swap Blue, and I think we're just chipping away, being patient, and trying to find this lethal with bot and Mystic.
Yeah, especially as you mentioned, the Mystics are pivotal here, because you mentioned potentially a double Atrocity lethal for Dalton, but one, we don't have the mana to do it in one single turn. Second thing, there is no way now, since we have double Mystic and we have Will of Ionic. So I think
Right.
this game is in Swat Blue's hands. I think there is no way he loses at this point.
Yeah, Delton had to kind of be risky there. Obviously, it looks really weird, you know, and we've got caster vision. but there is that line of setting up one Atro, having the ride up, and then going for the second Atro, right? Because what you do is you ride coin, get your missed out, deal 4 damage, and then your Viego with the other Atro will win the game against Swap Blue. But that was just a lot of stuff. We have one deny up, which stops one will, but if they have anything else, it's just like, improbable. But, a potential line. However, Swap Blue here, almost playing around everything with Double Mystic. They quicksand, we have Double Twin, we have like 20 other potential cards in hand that can kind of just win the game.
Yeah, and now more than ever though, because like even the impact from this victor puts Dalton under one single mystic, and the little spots are dramatically increasing for Swat Blue. Like he's creating more and more opportunities, and Dalton has basically nothing to answer with.
Right, you just have so many incremental damage. Doesn't matter how many percent Delton has, they probably can't deal with the Mystics. They're double riding any potential burn is just horrible. And yeah, this is definitely a game by Swap Blue. But Delton has to play it out, because like we're saying, this is a very high stake league. There's a lot of stuff on the
Wait,
line.
I think the reason I think potentially
There is an out. There is an out because we actually kind of attacked into the miss rave or the miss. There is that. Yeah, you're right. And it's going for Adrian now. Wait, is this just game? Do we just like kind of get lost in the source? Is this actually just game? No, it can't be because of the mystic. No. Okay.
No, exactly. There are the mystic shots, so there can't be lethal immediately because Astro would use 7 mana, and you would need 8 mana to stop both mystics. You can stop one though. If there was only one mystic shot, it would be enough.
Right, but it just gets willed otherwise.
Yes,
this is like the potential out for Delton, but yeah, the double mystic just secures the game. We got lost in the source for a second, and then we got lost in the source even more, thinking that there was a potential win from Delton, but Swap Blue is ahead of this game than we are, and understands that no matter what Delton does here, we just win.
Yeah. We are just winning, and this is gonna be GG. And as we mentioned, Swat Blue losing to Talia Ziggs, it was the hardest matchup between the two, and now as potentially 2 favorable matchups. Winning with his Lee Sin Victor, and now as face Delton's deck is Karma, Zoe, Aphelios.
Yeah, what a great game from Swap Blue. There was just finding those engines and then putting as much pressure as you can on those high threat density turns, right? Because Viego has like a weakness, and it's they have to play their high cost units, and when you can do that, or when they do that, you just go all in. And we definitely saw the understanding of Swap Blue in that matchup.
And here we are with game 3. The last game of this series, the last game which will determine who between Swat Blue and Dalton takes this series and potentially takes the win for their team in this best of 3 here at Runeterra Aegis. And it's, as we mentioned, that Zoe, Aphelios, Karma from Swat Blue against the Mono Viego from
They
Dalton.
forced us to choose death or the blade.
Right, and we have a decent curve from Swap Blue, something you don't normally see from a Karma player, but it's very good. 1 drop, a 2 drop.
Hiding.
Dalton's hand, on the other hand, is not curve centric. It is the opposite of curve centric, but it's not bad. Having as much high threat density as possible is very important in this matchup.
Yeah, and you're down first, Cavalry Soldier, generating a mist, which is almost certainly gonna be killed off with the right of calling to get second Viego. We mentioned second Viego here, especially against these Eyes of Dragons, with Despair being created in hand when you play the first Viego, can be pivotal, because you can remove for just 1 damage on your Nexus a very powerful engine on the opponent's side.
Right, it's not great against either, because it's a 4 mana to 1 mana card for a trade, but I think the biggest utility is threatening a potential Aphelios. Or not even that, but be like what but be like what you said, a scarecrow, right? Because if we play the Viego that they don't know about, and then we just have this spear in hand, it's really hard for them to play Aphelios.
Yeah. And looking at Zotulu's end, he felt a little bit cornered here, no more units to play, and play money efficiency, decided to burn 2 healing on his face to draw just 1 more card. And this speaks volumes of his Titan in this match, because if he was the one feeling pressured, he would for sure have retained the healing when he deems it necessary.
Right. So, you know, damage doesn't really matter too much in this matchup besides the Celestials, right? So we can kind of take a lot of damage here, but at the same time, killing the eye is just important. Because it's another blocker. You know, if we're going wide with like double Hydravine, we can just kind of be vertically a lot longer. No, horizontally longer on the board, and that can just like sneak out so much more damage than what Swap Blue can kind of handle with. And we see that in Delton's hand, right? The double Hydravine is just absolutely kind of nuts, I will say.
Yeah, especially since we said there is no removal on the side of Swatwool outside from some like random invokes of maybe comets or supernovae. There is no other way to obliterate or kill enemy units outside of or a potential sunburst even. But aside from that, your Viego is gonna sit on the board. His level up is gonna go through, and it's gonna be a bigger and bigger threat. And those Hydravines, when on board, are not going to be removed.
And one main reason for that is the Hourglass, right? Hourglass is actually probably the best card in the Shurima list, and why I think Shurima is just better than Ionia for Viego. Because you can just do so much things there, and if they try and just comment, you just go boom, Hourglass. And you're allowed to just play Hydravine on curve. Right, like we were talking about this last game where, the Hydravine, we have to kind of wait for the deny backup to actually have a better chance to be in this game. But you can just slam Hydravine and have Hourglass up. However, you know, at the same time when we were talking about this, there's a lot of damage coming from this control player.
It's a reverse aggro matchup. Basically, it's a reverse aggro matchup where the control with the Karma deck goes very, very, very horizontally wide on board and just aggroes the mono Viego list.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, you know what? I'm the beatdown. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm being aggressive. But Hydravine is a card that can kind of stabilize as well, just because you get +2 all the time. So even though we're pushing a lot of damage that gives a possible Alpha Celestial, they really need to find a good Celestial card.
Wait,
wow.
Okay, this
Delton.
was so
Delton is crazy. Whoa. I like this play though, I'll be honest.
Especially since you don't have Quicksand in your hand.
Yeah.
And now, as you mentioned, we have to go wide. We have to play our Hydravine and try to go for as wide as possible, defend our boards as best as we can. This is not gonna be easy. This is gonna take some time, but we have to try.
So the main reason, okay, not sure why they're doing this here because there's double fearsome, but the main reason Delton did that was to push for, you know, a humongous amount of damage. If we could, you know, get that 4-3 out of the way and they just don't have a fearsome block it, we put this potential threat of just, you know, almost destroying their game plan. Or like just absolutely, not even destroying the game plan, but destroying their Nexus, right? Because of the Aether on hand. So I do like that from Delton, understanding that there's only certain health ranges, but it gets scary. It really gets scary because we're talking about somehow Swap Blue is so horizontally wide on their board.
Yeah, and you're getting one more elusive, which we know it's gonna be potentially killed by. I think we will have to use the atrocity to kill the elusive.
We just passed it. Interesting. Swap Blue, understanding, maybe Quicksand's scary. We're not horizontally wide enough to actually do a potential threat if they do have the Quicksand. but we know in hand that they don't. So I'm really interested by that play.
Okay, this can be this one of the craziest ways to remove a trickster that I've ever seen, because we are gonna see Dalton potentially going through the atrocity and the right of negation to kill just one little 3/3.
It's gonna be so it's gonna be so sad when we see this happen. So Swap Blue is going for this wide game plan, which is actually correct. I think I could be wrong, but because we have this elusive up, we can threaten this idea of pushing lethal that way, and also play around quicksand, right? Because if we go wide enough on the board right now, we have Gem, and we also have Twin to push for lethal.
Okay, and here comes the atrocity, as we mentioned. Immediate atrocity when there is no way for Swat Blue to either save his trickster or recall the opponent's miss. There is no mana up for Wheel of Ionia or Deny, so it's a perfectly safe play. Here for
Right,
Dalton.
and this is actually looking kind of good for Delson. Delson just needs to survive here, and
And it's
then
GG
it just
basically
becomes
because Viego levels.
yeah, exactly. Not only does Viego level, but you lose all these potential fearsome blockers. Wow, we get the hush out. This is just going to be
This is
very
game.
sad. Yeah, this is game. They can't even Converian Soldier because you just have an elusive here. Dalton. Dalton went for the lethal and we didn't even think about the hush. We were talking about how hush earlier on is a type of combat trick that can just win you games, and it is.
It's a one-off Ash. Guys, let's remember, this is a one-off Ash. This one-off Ash just won Swat Blue the game because of ashing a mist. Man, this is insane.
Yeah, who cares about stabilizing when you're just winning the game?
Yeah,
Because they
found the aggro play, found the the way to go very, very wide on board, while Dalton didn't find any early curve, and this is just gonna be GG from Elusive, GG from the Trickster. Swat Blue taking the series for his team, taking the series for LORFR.
really smart play, playing around quicksand and basically just having an elusive there just made so much sense. And like I'm super glad to see that. Really, you know, LoR FR are kind of underrated, and we're seeing the elite gameplay from them. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. I absolutely agree. And also, since yes, Salty Simon won 2-1 his series, but Broken Ball lost 2-0. So actually, I think that this clash between teams has been won by LORFR. GG for them, like for real. I've really liked the gameplay that I've seen from Swap Blue. The basically the bravery to bring triple control in a meta where control can be heavily targeted by the opponents, and winning with it.
And they did play really well. I think we have a lot of respect for Rio being like the top dog. You know, they're almost similar to what you would say like a Manchester United of the league, right? They've got all these elite players that are absolutely so stacked. But the thing is, if they don't have good teamwork or good understanding of how to bring their lineups together and work to basically make it, like, you don't even need a good stacked roster, is what I'm getting at. You just need to have a good understanding of teamwork. And we definitely saw that from uh, LoR FR, 100%.
And I got the info from the production that they won 5-3. So LRFR winning against Ario for 5 points to 3 points. GG for them. And I think that puts them at first place at the moment. First place,
Wow.
waiting for first place in their group, waiting for 2.5 men to play their series. 6-1. Man,
It's
they're going for an very impressive scoreline.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was saying that, right? We're literally talking about how they're underdogs, and you know, the other top dog is 2.5 men. So this is actually becoming a very, very tight group.
Indeed. Indeed. And as you mentioned, like 2.5 men also have incredible players, but LORFR, like I know some of those players, most of those players from ladder. I know other of those players for like grassroots tournaments they've done in EU. And one thing that I can say for them is that they are super capable of adaptability. Like they're masters basically to adapt based on their opponents, to scout them, to find a way to target them and win, just because they know to play a lot of different decks and lots of different play styles. And I think that's an ability that can get you very, very far in this Runeterra Aegis League.
I agree. I think that's actually the number one ability. If you're really good at scouting, it doesn't matter who you have on the team. You could have Raynad on your team, and it doesn't matter. You know, you could have like the developers on the team. You could have Ruben Zoo. It literally doesn't matter if you scout well.
I absolutely agree. And with that said, we're gonna take a small break until the next series of today. I think it's gonna be like 5 minutes long. So see you soon.
Peace. See you soon.
And you're back with the second series of the day. Man, the first series was a banger. We saw control winning against mid range in some matchups where we said, in theory, the opponent's Dalton was super favored, and Zwotbul came out on top, basically outplaying Dalton time and time again and playing super super well by the book, I would say. And I'm super hyped for the second series.
I am too. So we've got wombats here. I'm a huge fan of wombats, and well, right now on this screen we have hole up with Lino Momo. So let's forget about that. But
Yeah.
Zero, do you want to break down this deck list?
Yeah, this deck list is actually Azir Irelia, and just this moment before talking about the deck, I want to thank Runeterra ER for giving us this beautiful deck loading screen with all the information about the decks, with the rarity cost of the cards, with the mana curve, every stat that you want to have when you watch the deck and to analyze it roughly. And we see Azir Irelia. This is the good old Azir Irelia that we remember in the times where it was wrecking havoc on ladder, but it's changed. We see one field musician. Back in the day, we didn't see much of this card because it was too late, it was too slow. It wasn't like the perfect fit for the curve for the deck. But now the meta is a bit slower. You might need to have a little bit more draws to finish the games consistently. And another very, very important addition is the one copy of Absolver. Absolver can be an absolute, the absolute ultimate win condition in his deck when you haven't leveled up Azir, summoning like 5, 6, 7 units in the same round and giving the Azir Overwhelm can absolutely win you the game with a 7, 8 plus Overwhelm attack. I think this deck list might be good into some of the mid-range deck that we see. I don't know how it fares against Aggro at the moment. I think it should lose to Aggro still, and I don't know much of the control matchups, but it's still a very, very peculiar and spicy list to bring to a tournament.
Right.
What do you
I
think?
completely agree. I think there's two ways you can build this list.
Mhm.
One is heavily against control, and this is what we see with the field musicians. You know, we kind of want to just secure this win against control. And the other way is adding Shadow Apprentice in the deck. You know, Dark Cody's came out with a list that's getting somewhat popularized if you play Azir earlier. And if you don't know what that card is, it's a 1/1 elusive for 1 mana and it gets +1 attack every time you play Ephemeral. So that's another way you can kind of be better into, mid range. But you do lose the ability to just secure anyone against control. So it makes sense that Waimu Momo is on this and they have a very decisive plan for what they want to beat.
It should lose to Aggro though, still.
Still, yeah. So right now we're talking about the wombats, and here they are with a bit of a spicy list. You know, we're kind of seeing Ezreal come out of the works. As originally popularized by Broken Bull. So if you don't know what it is, it's a deck that tries to utilize the play cast mechanics in a way where you can abuse Israel.
Mm-hmm.
At first, it was thought to be kind of broken and OP, but over time, it's a lot more balanced, and it only hits a few matchups that are kind of important. It looks like Ghost of Driver is kind of being good against aggro here, and it might be really good against what we saw as the Aurelia. Just because you have so many pings and so much potential removal that not only does it threaten champions, it also actually just threatens another win con through the Israel. And another thing about this list is it runs the beautiful discard package. I say beautiful because when you go Zornate onto like Chompers and then go like Baboon, you're
Yeah.
already ahead in the game early.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kind of this list is doing to be really aggressive in the early to mid game and finish with Israel.
Yeah,
With,
yeah, you could say
Lulu.
Mhm. I see some similarities with this list and potentially the Fizz Lulu that we were seeing like in the past meta. You know, where you are very aggressive, you can either take control of the board, but this deck instead it doesn't have the Fizz, but does have the Ezreal that can do a lot of damage when flipped. So it evens out.
Right. And you might be looking like a Neomorph. They're running Heimerdinger in an aggregate. What's going on? Well, the main reason for that is for two things. It makes your Demacia matchup a lot better, and it's a better support card to kind of stabilize your mid game. And you can also find a really interesting tempo swing with it. And that's another like way you can win, just tempo out with Heimer, right? Because you have so many spells. But we're seeing the ban phase here, and these are some great lists right now, and it's Cobra versus Ghost Driver. Zero, what do you think about the deck list we're seeing right now in the matchup?
Okay, I think Kova as basically the standard, some of the standard decks we still see from the last matchup that Kova is bringing as Delton was bringing both Zigstalia and Monoviego because they are so strong. But instead, as the last deck list, is bringing Pantheon Yumi. Pantheon Yumi staple from basically from release. Uh, One of the strongest decks. If you want to go in a vertical game plan, you're going big. You're not going wide. You have very big statted unit on board that can win with 2 or 3 attacks, with a lot of attack, overwhelm, and of course a lot of stats. While on the other side, Ghost Driver has prioritized the way of value, target centric. We see banned now the invoke potentially with Shellfolk list, the Zoe Diana. And we see the other list that we see is the Lux Aphelios, a list that has been rising in popularity since the playcast changes, especially because, and even before was seeing a bit of play, because Lux now is much easier to level, much easier to get the spark off.
Right. That playcast makes Lux feel so nice. I mean, it just feels like you. It feels like you're getting rewarded for actually playing a 6-cost spell now. And we're talking about how Ghosted Driver was kind of targeting aggro, just based on that Israel deck, and we're seeing their lineup, and wow, it was heavily favored to beat aggro. However, Cobra
Yep.
does not have any aggro, a lot of control,
Only mid range
and
and control.
yeah, mid range, mid range, but it kind of just duffs up. It's really good basically because like the problem with Ghosted Driver's lineup is it just absolutely decimates like aggro, and even against good mid range decks, it will fall off a lot.
Yeah, and so we see Kolva potentially very ahead in the matchup, because basically every single deck that he can play, the opponent has to answer. I think Lux Aphelios kind of an edge potentially on Viego if can find his units on curve. As we saw earlier, Viego can brick quite a bit if you don't find like your early game units to draw into Viego, to draw into your champions with Right of Calling. And yeah, it's not gonna be easy though for Ghost Driver, as you mentioned. His lineups, he definitely didn't find what he was hoping for.
I think Kova's just trying to bully this Lux, right? You
Mhm.
know, Ghost of Driver's only control deck really is this Lux. And well, Pantheon's pretty decent into it. And Mono Viego, when you have Hourglass, just kind of stops any potential threat of like Concerted or Comet. It makes you kind of not want to be playing certain cards, right? You never really want to be Comet when you have to play around the 2 mana spell, and that's going to be absolutely detrimental for Ghost Driver to try and get around.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And man, I love the logo of all that team. I'm still looking at this. I love this logo.
It's a great meme, right? But we're in the game now, and another great team with another great logo is Ghost Driver opening up with the Spacey Sketcher. Just a lot of curving, really. You know, we got Goat, we got Aphelios, we've got Lux, we've got all of these cards to try and be aggressive as possible.
And also the Stairs Camp. I wasn't seeing that card in a while. I hadn't seen that card in a while. Let's remember everyone this effect. Its effect is a 2 mana 2/2 card, and
Oh,
if you have a celestial unit, a celestial card in hand, it costs 0, as you can see here. And so now potentially Ghost Driver setting up some heavy damage on open attack.
Yeah, sorry, you might have heard me just go, what? Because they just discarded advice.
Yes.
I do think it was the correct play, because Ghost of the Driver understands that they have to go wide as possible. Because Pantheon's going to kind of just snowball the game out mid to late. If you can just kind of neutralize their board and just make their own threats become a lot more destructive. So understanding that from Ghost of the Driver, that discard might look weird, but they understand what they have to do.
Yeah, exactly. Having a deep understanding of the matchup, he found himself in a position of disadvantage, but he's trying to do his best.
Right, and we see this toughness is actually really good. We can Xenoblade here loses the single. I don't know if we're actually horrible with that, but we get a free trade off the Spacey as well, which is quite nice.
Ooh, and so, as you mentioned, we decide to not go immediately for the Zenith Blade, but in this way, we're going to strike with the Goat and potentially heal up our Broadwing before trying to power it up.
Right. I really like this play because we don't have any combat tricks in hand, and if they do something silly like a single or something, we understand that we're going to be getting this gem, and we don't need to kind of swing with this Broadwing anymore.
Hold still.
Yeah, and here, yes, we are forced to block with the Spitting Catcher, but we're giving the opponents the opportunity to heal the Petrified Broadwing, and now this unit is gonna be a nightmare for us to deal with. Both tough and a lot of health that is gonna come in the next few turns. This doesn't bode well for Ghost Driver, unless he finds some crazy way to deal with it. And one way, we're gonna find it for sure in Gravitum.
Right. So yeah, there's a bit of saving grace here. I mean, this Broadwing's always gonna be pesky against a Theos. The only time you can really play Theos is through that Gravitum. So yeah, well spotted. I mean, it might give you enough time to be okay. Cause so on paper this matchup's actually really good for Ghost Driver. We're talking about him being aggressive, but I forgot a main factor of this matchup, and it is the Gravitum. So even though we are talking about this being a bad matchup, I forget about the most useful card, and Gravitum just stops any potential threat if they go very, very tall. You can get like a Saga Seeker out, let's say hypothetically, and it's like a 2020. You normally just Gravitum it, and it's really awkward for them to actually try and win the game.
Yep. Especially since we have the time, we have the Gravitum played on the Petrified Broadwing is gonna give us the time to rotate the guns and cycle the guns and get another Gravitum for the next turn. So basically we're gonna have 3 Gravitum for every single turn to shut down this menace of the Petrified Broadwing.
Maybe you'd like it if you weren't so busy being
Right,
mean.
yeah. The Gravitum's actually a best card in this matchup. You'll see it just work so many times. COVID doesn't have a great hand for going tall anyway, so it's kind of okay. But when they do try and go tall, it's going to be really difficult, especially because we're chipping in so much damage there.
Yep. And we see more early game units, more cheap units from set of Ghost Driver, which is a bit of a saving grace because yes, we can cycle the weapons of Aphelios, but to do it, we need actually to have early game units, to have cheap units to play and activate the cycling.
So Kova here just trying to pretend they have a combat trick. Something people don't really do much is bluffing combat tricks, right? Because if you just keep it on the back line, and it gives a read for Ghost Driver basically, like, oh hey, you actually have no sharp sight, but because of this might actually respect the idea of sharp sight, right? Like let's say we're getting Calibrum out, they don't even need a Zenith Blade anymore because Ghost Driver might think that they have sharp sight.
Yeah. At this point, yes, but I think you might at that point force force the combat trick in a defensive position, no? It
Right,
might work.
I do. So I do agree. But the thing is, like, Cova just lets that go because they need to probably get another white flame out, right? But basically, saying that idea of like, if you do play it, you're just gonna let me buff up is like really smart from Cova.
Ooh, okay. And immediately punished and decide goes to driver.
Right.
Not
I mean, it's really smart from Cova. You know, where it's been a common suit that we've been doing these cast zero with the feelers, right? Feelers decks lose a lot if you just kill the feelers. And Cova says, "Hey, I really hope you don't have the sharp sight because I know I'm going to lose late," and
But this
gets
is gonna cost hard.
immediately rewarded.
This is gonna cost a lot of health, though. For instead of Kova, it's gonna cost at least 7.
It might be almost lethal, yeah.
It's
You're
almost
not
lethal.
wrong.
The problem is that it's almost lethal is not enough to kill him.
Is undeniably close. It's what, like, you pull here, we get Pantheon out maybe. I mean, this isn't bad from Ghost Driver though. If we find the stun, we might actually just win this game.
Ooh, that's true. The stun, but it doesn't go for it.
Yeah, just being safe. I don't know if you can be safe here. I mean, like, I understand that single's a potential threat, but the stun just makes so much sense because, like, we really need to try and win now. Otherwise, there might be a potential stabilization from Kova.
I mean, I know Ghost Driver. He's one of the best players we have in EU, and he for sure was thinking about it. He for sure saw that outcome, saw that out, and decided to not play for it. Decided to go for the safest route, and maybe he has something in mind. He has for sure another out in mind he can play forward.
Yeah, and maybe it's definitely correct, honestly, because we are just going wide, right? So, and I don't think we're ever, like, dying here, so yeah, Ghost Driver understanding that. Also, like, wow, these are all pretty good, but
The
no
Equinox
stun.
here, shutting down the petty side, Broadwing,
Maybe you'd like it if you weren't so
immediately.
busy being mean.
People also forget how good Ghost Driver is, like you said. We're saying these players, but it doesn't really matter because, like, Ghost Driver is so good, but very underrated. I remember so many formats, they have, like, the highest win rate on any deck they play. I forgot what deck it was that was absolutely crazy, but it boasts into, like, the 80 to 90% win rate. It's, like, so high, even if it's like a small sample size of 20. When they play like 100 games or something, their win rate's like 75%, like consistent.
And also, like, Ghost Driver, representative for Germany in, I think, 2 European Masters. Of course, top ladder player, super strong. But here, look at those rolls from Pantheon. Scout, elusive, and lifesteal.
Talking about taking the game away, we're saying, yeah, maybe Kova can say was maybe, but Ghost Driver's still wild enough. But hey, when you get Scout and lifesteal,
Do you see that great beyond, though?
you say great beyond, but I'm pretty sure there's elusive on this Pantheon.
Yes, but it's gonna tank one of them, and the next one is gonna swing freely.
That is
I think
true.
you played Immortal Fire, though. I think potentially you get the Immortal Fire, though. I'm almost sure that you get the Immortal Fire, yes. Because you can play it immediately next round. It is an equal threat to the Great Beyond, and it has double life. Yeah, yes, 2 life. It cannot be killed immediately. So I think it's a way better play.
It's funny, you could have actually played the Great Beyond as well.
Oh,
But
right, because of the mana.
But I do agree that the Infernal Fire of the Phoenix is just a lot better because we're probably going to be trading into a unit at some point. So wow.
It doesn't matter. Let's be real. It doesn't really matter at this point.
You're covered.
Talking about trying to close out the game, Ghost Driver here, understanding that their top decks can be kind of ferocious with heavy threat density, and they're getting very rewarded for it. But
This is so silly from this other coaster driver because basically Kova is just setting up his win condition. Okay, now I set up my win condition like this. I have my Pantheon, which has elusive scout and all. I can play Yumi now on the Pantheon potentially. And Coaster Driver all of a sudden saying, "No, I have another, I have another star shaping, so I will have another win condition."
right, so I'm looking at Kova's hand here, and I think we have to draw. And not only that, but this attack is very awkward, right? Because we don't have quick attack, so we're potentially losing Pantheon if we ever do attack.
I mean, we are for sure losing the Pantheon if we attack with Pantheon. And that's why I think we have to keep the Pantheon for defense. And it's super awkward to say. But, I mean, if we don't, we're just dead.
Right. But, you know, Kova also recognizing that. And they're recognizing that and going tall. They understand that if I go tall enough, this is actually going to be tough for Ghost Driver to, you know, find that potential lethal. However, we both know what's in Ghost Driver's hand.
I am legitimately waiting for like the Scourge being played. I mean, not this round, potentially the next one, or another Phoenix.
A Phoenix is definitely the card you want because you push the lethal here, right? But it does get like kind of punished by a couple things. Maybe it doesn't actually get punished by anything much, but you can't really find lethal because of the lifesteal Pantheon. That's the problem, right? And then if you go all in, we kind of get it's very troublesome, if I say, because like if Pantheon can get one good value trade, it means that they might have enough time to find the other stuff they need, like a catalysm, for example. Right? Because Kova's just waiting here, trying to make Pantheon full as possible to slow down the game and find that catalysm. If you find the catalysm, that right now, like we know from like Kova's point of view, that's threatening lethal.
Yes, that's lethal without anything that can be done to stop it.
You are dead.
Right, but
and I am
star
better
shaping's a
for it.
card. So yeah, but yeah. If there was no star shaping, that gives Kova the hope to just end the game, and that's what they're going for. Also, another key thing is you get an extra rally out. So I don't know if that's important because like this board state's so weird, but it's another potential invite.
Yep. And here we are buffing another unit. Ooh, we're going Golin here with the first of the combat tricks. And this is gonna be very awkward. As the next
Are we just going? No. What's going on here?
I don't think there is not lethal at the moment on board, but there could be lethal with any top deck. Like any top that could spell potential lethal. Without counting star shaping, of course. And Quick Escape is not enough.
Talking about Leaf, yeah. Talking about Leaf, I was gonna say kind of get stopped by Feelers, but no, it doesn't. Because Spell Shield is the important thing here. And maybe that's what Kova was also thinking with the Spell Shield on the other unit. Maybe to play around the Feelers, and this is really tough for Ghost Driver now. Wow, that
Ooh, no.
really well played.
This is so close. This is gonna be so close.
That understanding from Kova, really well played. Putting the Spell Shield on the Saga Seeker, killing off the Phoenix, and then killing the second one that revived.
This is lethal. This is lethal.
Yeah, just to push lethal. We knew that they didn't have Sharp Sight earlier, so if they found a certain way to actually, you know, hand track, this is actually such a calculated lethal from Kova. We have the Pale.
Insane.
The Pale here is lethal. Really well played. We didn't see it. The Saga Seeker with a Bastion looked like it was so out of its mind, but they thought about it. They're like, hey, if I attack the Phoenix size, but I need to kill this other Phoenix. How do I do that playing around any removal? That's it. That is literally it.
Losing is just an opportunity.
Wow. Really well played. These games today have been absolutely insane.
And I like how basically the control, or here the mid-range players, the Stargon players, looking at every possible out of their game and using their tools in such a manner that they found the most like the most hidden outcomes, because I hadn't seen it immediately. Like I admit it, even with caster vision, I couldn't see immediately why he put so many resources into the Saga Seeker. But in the end, we see it paid off, because he had such a big Saga Seeker that could kill the Phoenix before it could go blocking the before it could go and block the Pantheon.
Not only is it like a calculation, right? It's also creativity, and that's the beautiful thing when we see in card games. Getting around certain lines that aren't normally probable, and that makes the best players when you're that
They
creative.
forced
So
us to choose death
I'm
or
really
the
happy to
blade.
see this play from Kova, especially against a prolific player like Ghost of Driver,
Mhm.
one of the most elite EU players you'll find.
Yeah, and I like to repeat, as one of my best friend that plays a lot of TFT says, you have to put yourself in a position to be lucky. Because yes, of course, you can have the lucky top deck, but you have to put yourself in a position when you can take full advantage of it. You know?
Right, it's all about percentages, right? You know, it's your win percentage is never 0% if you can be lucky. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. Like playing Banjo City, for example, right? You might have this weird telescope line that people don't like to see at all, but you do become a better player because you understand that there's that small percent to win the game. And well, we've been definitely seeing those small percentages stacking up today and getting
For
really
flowers
rewarded.
bring the moonlight with them.
Yeah, exactly. And here, though, second match of the series between Ghoster Driver and Kova. We see the Mono Viego that we've seen before today from Son of Kova, while Ghoster Driver playing again is Yumi. And it is Yumi is Lux Aphelios deck. I don't think that you like that with the deck that you're playing.
Wow, talking about you have to be lucky. Ghost Drive on that man is not lucky yet. Aphelios is kind of revolved around moon weapons.
Yeah,
And
and you could get rid of the 5-3 with the Kali Broom, but now we can't.
right, and Kova here also doesn't really care about spells. It's a heavily oriented mid-range deck with units. The only card you could possibly care about is Hourglass, but that's free mana. You bank free mana, you can play that stuff in the same turn as you like develop Viego, and it's really annoying.
And it's so sad that Ghost Driver had to attack even with the Phidias. He knew the Phidias was dead anyways, so just puts 6 more damage with his cards on board, and he has to find a way to get rid of the Sony Suppressor.
Right, there's literally no good outcome here with the Sony Suppressor. Just hinders only Ghost Driver.
But at
Maybe
least
Ghost
we can
Driver.
say it gives Ghost Driver more spells, more chances to level up Lux.
That is true. There is one merit for it. I was gonna say maybe Ghost Driver somehow finds Tribeam. But yeah, 100%. I don't know how, but maybe they're so lucky they just manifest Tribeam out of thin air. But yeah, no, I agree. There's like the tiniest bit of merit, but it doesn't feel good paying for free extra mana to try and level up something.
Yeah, of course, of course, of course. I was trying to see the good in this play when it, of course, or so unlucky. I think it's one out of so many 2-drops that there are between Targon and Demacia. So many good 2-drops, even really good ones. But now, like one of the worst, especially in this kind of matchup.
Right, exactly.
It,
And we've seen this Caliburn play, just neutralizing the board, but this Viego is kind of scary. So yeah, very scary here, especially when we have so much like vulnerable keywords. We can just start pushing damage here.
yeah, and especially since we weren't already like so much favored in this kind of matchups. Yes, it's kind of easier than the last one potentially. It's not terrible, but but here we find basically the worst outcome and the worst early game that we could ever hope for. Like even now, we play Aphelios, we have 2 mana, and we can't play any moon weapon. This is just having the old Aphelios back.
Yeah, and quick factoid, if you say so myself. Aphelios was one of the lowest win rate champs when the weapons were free mana. So seeing this is like just absolutely horrible. There's no poetic justice for Ghost of Driver. They're like, hey, Pantheon rolled Scout Lifesteal, Elusive, doesn't matter. You can't get karma from luck. You're still just gonna get even more unlucky and just get the worst card possible.
Yeah. It feels so bad. We have to get a lot of units on board. I think our plan now is to fill our board and just override that 1-3. I think that's what we're going for. But it's means to level up Lux. Okay, Lux is leveled up. We have and it costs 1. Okay, we got the spark from Lux, and from Lux, and it's gonna help us a bit keeping the control of the opponent's board.
Kinda. I mean, so it's really nice because we can't like trade well into the Lux. I mean, the Sand Spin is gone, but this looks like an angle from Cobra, and it's just maybe mitigating the board here. I think like these vulnerable units are so awkward now for Ghost of Driver.
And even more awkward is the fact that both of the vulnerable units are champions, and now Kova, maybe reading into the mind of Ghost Driver, keeps trying to remove every single follower on Ghost Driver's side to keep the 1-3 on board.
Yeah. Ghost of Driver also understands that this Lux is getting threatened. So what they're doing here is preemptively trying to punish the Viego with a trade, right? Because if we do this after attack, the Hourglass kind of punishes the final spot. So talking about how calculated Ghost of Driver is, they're making basically Cobra not get a free trade here with the Viego. So very, very smart from Ghost of Driver.
Yeah, and so the Lux will stay on board, and the Viego is not gonna even block, because I think we're afraid of Sharp Sight.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is good. What you need is your champs. If you lose Viego, you're kind of trying to find another threat here, right? And that's just too unlikely to do in the short amount of time where Ghost of Driver might find an opening to, get back in this game. So I really like highly prioritizing not to put Viego in danger.
And one thing, now Star Shaping gives us immediately a spark. But on the other end, I don't know if we are gonna get there, because Lux is potentially gonna be traded immediately. I don't think Lux survives this round.
Well, so it's the turn's gone, so we do get another chance to play more spells. I actually, you know what? Like we're saying that this 1-3 was like really detrimental to Ghost of Driver's game plan, but when Aphelios is out of here, it actually helps Lux a lot. Like you're saying, a main problem from Lux Aphelios is these weird minor points where you can't actually get lasers. And weirdly enough, this card does actually help those mana points drastically, right? Because right now, wow.
Wait! This is... Whoa! I cannot...
Wow, that's super heads up. I was going to talk about we can get 2 lasers next turn.
This is
so
Giga
nicely.
Brain, actually.
Yeah, but is it even that good though? Like we're talking about like this is kind of be benefiting for Lux and making these mana points a lot nicer. Because now we got to use the gem, we got to use the star shaping, we got to use a tiny bit more cards where we could have actually kind of got a lot more lasers when we didn't need to put more resources in.
Yeah, but our Lux stays alive 1 more turn, and I think this might be enough. Like all we needed was for Lux to stay alive, you know. And then this turn we can stabilize. We can find another spark. And yes, Kova of course can use another hourglass, but our Lux is gonna stick, and that is all it matters.
Right, yeah, no, yeah, 100%. Very Giga Brain. I actually forgot about Viego's potential threat to kill Lux. And us getting the Hourglass out means that they can't actually kill. But so Ghost and Driver really being so calculated here, finding every potential way to try and win. And yeah, we get this final spark out and say, hey, you have second Hourglass, I cry, but the chances of that is very low.
And even then, we are fine. Even with Hourglass, Viego is not gonna kill Lux even next turn, so we have even more chances.
Yeah, we're
Yes.
just finding so many outs. The only problem here is if Kova draws into Viego, well, it doesn't go for that line. But if they Prismavariumed and just found Viego, that would have been absolutely horrific. They're one mana off here as well, right? We see the Rider cooling. They could Prismavarium, but they're sadly one mana off to go for that play. Not only that, but Kova's kind of dying. He's actually...
Yeah, that's the secondary thing, no? Because if you Hourglass the laser beam, still you're getting 4 damage to the face, and it's not pleasant. Let me tell you.
Yeah. This is yeah. I mean, those laser beams are actually insane. You know, threatening out those hourglasses mean that Kova has dealt 8 damage.
And it's
Right.
there's gonna be another another laser beam next round if you check correctly, because there is exactly 6 mana on spells in the
Right.
end of the driver, because you're just gonna play the 1-drop, giving you one more spell, and you can kill the Viego.
Not only can you kill a Viego here, but you can stop so much potential here while getting the laser here. Wow, and the Comet is insane. You know, it might not give you enough, not time. I mean, like, so we can't play it straight away because they're attacking, but this is really good to get this Viego out and then threat him with the laser.
And next round, like a cherry on top of the cake, we have the Great Beyond, which cannot be answered, which cannot be killed, which will not be denied.
I wonder if we Comet here.
We could, because the opponent then has no blockers. And we can Comet and put both our 1-drops. You know?
There is some blockers here because of the Vile Feast pickup.
Oh,
But they're playing it now, so we have an understanding of what our play is. I think we have to comment, right? Like, they're so behind, they can't play another Hydra, they've used 2 Hourglasses.
yeah, I either we Comet or we'll potentially Lux even. But yeah, I think Comet is the best play. They use 2 Hourglasses. They won't have the third with just 1 card in hand. And now Kova is just waiting for the top decks, while Ghoster Driver has literally every answer under the sun in his hand, potentially.
Yeah, we have going wide, we have potential damage, we have an elusive. This is giving me flashbacks of that Swap Boo game against Mono Viego, and I think that's probably the weakness. Going wide, finding an elusive is kind of tough for Kova. I mean, like, you have quicksand, but if you can't get it going early, then it's very problematic. But Kova gets this vengeance. Is this gonna actually potentially get you in the game?
I don't think so, because you're using all of your resources basically to just answer 1 created card from your opponent, like not even 1 main decked card. And of course you find the Viego. Okay, he finds the Viego, and maybe he's back into the game. Okay, maybe this Viego can turn the tides.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, like, the only problem is the reason that you have to, like, stabilize the board is by playing units, right? And when you play those units, it's very susceptible to the laser beam.
Viego gets
Wow.
played. We have to play a blocker. I think, yes, the Goat will suffice.
Right? over here, you know, being hasty, understanding that you need as much crits as possible, gets the mist out as well. Wants to clear this board as much as possible, and hey, this glimpse is kind of very good.
Okay, but we find another win condition. Okay, how many late game win condition can
All mind
Kova
and
actually
heart
answer?
greet the night.
Quicksand is another thing here. We don't have it in hand, but
He
the
used one.
beauty of definitely found one, but getting a glimpse off a glimpse is like the scariest thing you could see in this in this part of the game, right? Like the last thing I want to see is my opponent drawing 4 cards, and this gives you a chance to just find quicksand. Gives you a chance to find that high ravine at the same time. It basically puts you in a position where if you are only drawing 1 card, you almost have like no chance to find a way, right? Because like you kind of need a bit more threats while also having a lot of tools to mitigate any potential threats from your opponent. But glimpse kind of breaks that to a point where you can find more things.
On the other hand,
However-
we're going very wide. We're going really wide here, potentially with the charger even.
Seismopsy is another spark.
Right,
Or
exactly.
the messenger drawing into more of our deck, more of our
It reminds
utility.
us there is always
So
more
Find the
to
late
it's-
game
discover.
conditions.
It's not great. I mean, so
I think
Okay.
the Bastion is GG though. I think even though unless there is a quicksand top deck, I don't think there is any way Kova can win this game. Only
it's
quicksand saves
right.
him.
Right now you need quicksand, and then if you do that, you have to get rid of one of your units. That means they're going wide, and I want to say game. You know, we have to sack our unit. We get a missile, which is kind of good, but we need to see, and we get the quicksand.
He's there, but we immediately go with the Bastion. Ghoster Driver knows what he's doing, and the Bastion is gonna spell the end of the game. There is no way to get the quicksand to work against the elusive, and the Immortal Phoenix, the Immortal Fire, wins the game 1-1 for Ghoster Driver.
Yeah, really well played from Ghost Driver. Very tactical. We thought there was a weird, basically like a weird position in the game where the 1-3 was basically very horrible for it. But because you know, Ghost Driver played it well, used it almost as an exploiting with certain mana points to get a laser. Very tactical and yeah, very well played.
Yeah, and when we see those outs, like the 1-3 was probably the worst card that Ghost Driver could ever get from that Crescendum, and it conditioned the game in a way that Ghost Driver was almost losing the matchup. But in the end, Celestials won the game. Late game win conditions were too much to be handled by Kova's deck.
Right, and we're talking about
Fans
basically
make
like
quick work.
creativity here all day. Like that Spell Thief into the Wild Feast line and literally one Ghost Driver game. Just killing off that that unluckiness from RNG, and it just gave so much time there. It was really great. But right now we're in this game. Ghost Driver getting out is Heimer here. You know, we're talking about Viego being very deceptive in wide boards, and this is something that, you know, the PNZ package can do really well.
Exactly.
Gonna find a gift for an
And
actor.
also the first, okay, in this matchup also you have to be very wary if you're Ghoster Driver though of these Merciless Hunters. The first one though already played, and the problem is the Israel cannot almost ever attack if the opponent has 3 mana up because of Quicksand. Quicksand is such a strong card that you're actually so scared of it to not attack with Israel.
Display of skill.
Yeah, so I think you might have to though, because the fall behind for this deck is, you know, you don't really have much draw, right? You need to be aggressive as possible, and this deck's all about burn. We can't really give up 2 damage, and even though Israel is such an important key card to kind of win games, we just have to ignore it, right? Like, there's just no chance we can never be attacking.
Yeah, and here though we are gonna answer potentially with a Mystic Shot, I think, on the Merciless Hunter, and we're gonna be answered. I think here is a glimpse beyond spot from
100%.
Yeah.
Just get it out. So like, it's pretty good. You know, you might be looking at that and like, ah, we just lose quicker than them, but I really do think that is correct play. You know, like, because like if they Bakai Sand Spinner or something, you know, that's even worse. You can just never attack with the issue.
Yep, exactly. Like, it just shuts down every chance of Ezreal attacks, just because it puts your Ezreal when non-leveled at 0 attack. Even just
Yeah.
that, like one of the worst feelings when you're playing Ezreal.
Being a fellow Israel enjoyer, I used to play it a lot with fresh Nasus being a thing, and when Sand Spinner was in that deck, I literally cried. I was like, yeah, gonna get a free Mystic Shot, and then boom, Sand Spinner. And you're like, oh, okay, cool.
Oh no.
It's just a free amount of nothing.
Okay, but because of that, we can get an iterative improvement. I think this is a matchup we can win actually through the value potentially given by iterative improvement on either the Concologist or the Feral Dancer.
A very weird value, if you say so myself. Not very, not really a deck that's known for value, but
Yep.
if you're versatile and have an understanding of a way to win, that's definitely a line. And I think we might see the improvements next game. There's another cute play as well. You could do it on Hydrovine. Not that it really does anything, but
Careful.
well, you can't do it on the Viego because it doesn't hit champs. But
Oh,
I wish that would be great, but sadly we can't.
no, I was thinking about the Minimorph. Yeah, I was thinking about the Minimorph.
Oh yeah, many more. Yeah. Oh yeah, I was doing the improvements.
Yeah, oh, improvement on Hydrovine, yes. You put your Hydrovine, I put mine, and we just stare. One is the
Exactly.
other.
It
We
kind of
stare.
boardwalks. It boardwalks and gives you enough time to actually find your burn, which is really weird to think about. But we get the Poke out, and then the Vial will met with that. So say we kill 3-2, and this is looking tough for Ghost of Driver already. We talked about this in the deck highlight, and it falls a lot. Like if you can't find that early board, and that early pressure, it's really, really difficult to actually win.
Ezreal is almost leveled up. And we can actually swing with it now.
I mean, so like we put so much. A lot of people put so much emphasis on Ezreal, but that card isn't good at ending games. As like I said, being a fellow Ezreal enjoyer, something I notice is it's very difficult to end Ezreal in this modern state of the game. And even it being a win con, like bursting out, I don't know, like 6 damage is very improbable, right? Like we see this vengeance here, which is decent with covert understanding and mystics, like kind of a problem. But it does get just really awkward later, and you're always just slightly a bit off the equal.
Yep. Ooh, okay, Concologist. Drawing you to time trick, I think it was one of the best outcomes here for sure. Like, we need draw, we need to get some of our win conditions straight. We need to get potentially, even a Nightmare here can be very, very strong, giving us access to many units on board and to go very, very wide.
I agree. That's definitely a line. We could maybe just bank our spells and just be wide, right? Because we know Viego struggles with that. Wow, and you see that pass with 2 mana. I'm wondering if the improvements is coming out on this Hydra.
Yes, I think we might be seeing that.
If so, this is why Ghost of Driver is one of the best players in the EU. People kind of forget about lines like this, right? But I think Ghost of Drivers is understand, hey, if I get this Hydra out and I have Baboon in my hand with the Zor Knight, I can actually kind of threaten the game. And this is like the best line to win.
Yes, and I'm super excited. Will we see the line? Will we see the line?
Has to be, right? I can feel it. Surely. Ghost of Drivers is thinking though, being very calculated.
Wait,
Doesn't wanna miss
or
anything.
you could do this and then Minimorph.
Yeah, you can do this and then just Minimorph next turn. Try and maybe, I don't know. This is so good though. All I know is this is really good because it's really awkward for Covert.
Yeah, we will just we will just basically be even on board forever now.
Right. So the only thing that breaks the stalemate though is what's in Kova's deck and is the main win con, which is Viego.
Yes.
So this does give us some time, and it gives us the best chance to outplay. However, it is going to fall off slightly. And Ghost and Driver realizes this. You can't just keep up. You can't keep up this Hydra and do nothing. We have to be trying to find as much damage as possible.
Yeah, and we chip away 4 damage to Kova's side, and Viago finally comes down. I wonder if we immediately minimorph Viago.
It's interesting, right? Hydra's more of a threat, and we saw Rite of Calling. So, I think, like, snowballing wise, I think we have to deal with the Hydra. Right? Because they need to be killing off their own units.
Yeah.
Even though we see the 5-2, so they can do a bit of, like, chaining. If you say, I don't know, I guess, yeah, chaining those ephemerals. But I think the best play is definitely mini-morphing. The Hydra.
Instead, we just go wide. Okay.
Yeah, it's not horrible. I mean, like, they do get an extra miss though, so it means it's probably gonna flip the Viego, and that's like the last thing we want to see. Wow, and talking about the last thing we want to see, Atro kind of gives you the ability to just have lethal here. We talked about this ages ago. You could actually just go for a quicksand, but I say that and I forget about something. Miss is now a 3/3, which is a fearsome blocker, and Ghost and Driver found Israel. The third Israel, which, like we say, we have to kind of get lucky, and this is literally the only best way to win the game. Or find the win, for example.
Yeah, this is for sure the way to find the win here. But the item mindset is gonna be traded. Oh, it's a bit sad.
Yeah, and we're two. So let's disregard Minimorph in hand. We are also 2 off lethal. With that quicksand. So almost potentially winning the game, but we're gonna just try and threaten the board and win on our next attack. Then I think is probably what Kova's going for.
Disintegrate.
Okay, looking for all the outs. You're not going to attack. Get with the 4/4. Oh, okay. Okay. Just going for a limited attack with the elusives that are gonna die anyway to feed on Viego's level up. One is just gonna be traded down for by our elusives. We can just sack an urchin.
Right. So this is a slight
Minimum
misplay.
from Viego. Okay.
Yeah, it's such a hard spot to try and figure out what's correct here. We're just kind of, 2 behind, where either one's going to start the game. Slight misplay from Kova though, I think. The 4/4 was just going to guarantee the kill on the Hydrophine. Where, if Ghost Driver wanted to, they could have get excited, right?
Wait,
but, I mean, like, you have right.
It's Vault Breaker.
Wow, we actually can, yeah. No, that's, like, maybe that's the line. We just disregard everything, say, hey, you don't have your second quicksand, and go for that lethal. Like,
of course,
we push some damage.
But hey, I think we cannot afford to be... I cannot afford to go later than this against the Viego deck, because Viego is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we don't have any more fearsome blockers aside from that baboon.
But Ghost and Driver here, just taking the safe line. I think maybe Ghost and Driver realizes the potential threat to play around quicksand.
This is 6 damage, no? This is 6 damage from the Ezreal if you play all those units on unit on board. If you play get excited against the face of the opponent, it's a little bit more.
Right. That Financier is kind of a good top deck as well. We're talking about as much value as we need, and that's exactly what we needed here. Sadly though, this Israel does get hindered by the quicksand, but we do have a play. It's an ambitious play, but I
No,
think
it's
this
gonna
is
get punished horribly. It's gonna get horribly punished.
it is, but I think this is why Ghosted Driver didn't go for that that vault breaker, right?
Mhm.
Because like they probably understood that they had quicksand, and this was the best way to play around it. Even though it gets punished by the right, I think this is a really heads up play because we deal 4 damage instead of dealing 6. It's 2 off, but it gives us potential outs to win, right?
Yep.
And the best way to play around the most detrimental card against our game plan, which was that quicksand.
And now I think we don't have many ways left into the game. Of course, Ferrous Financier here could turn the tides. I think potentially we would have
Oh,
wanted
anomaly
a progress day.
is anomaly like something crazy? Like maybe I don't know. I don't know what's a potential
The
Suncoast
crazy card we need.
poetic, poetic, but no, it's not because we just kind of get
Don't you
threatened
know it's
by.
the strongest card in the game? It had the highest win rate.
Yeah, it actually did have the highest win rate. Wonder who popularized that one. Don't know that name, but we're so close to lethal here, right? Ghosted Driver is like on the back foot and is just living off this baboon. It's
Yes,
scary
and
though.
Baboon is saving the game.
Baboon is saving the game, and we're probably gonna see the sunk cost come out from Ghosted Driver, which is the most hilarious thing here.
Yes, and if the Sankos come out though, we can just hourglass in response, and this is gonna be GG. I don't think there is any way to answer this.
Yeah, there's just so much threats. And like this is why this Ezreal deck just can't, be consistent enough because you just fall off so much. And Ghost Driver finds a singular will here. Sadly,
No, wait.
this is not gonna be good enough though because they can just replay almost everything. Only if this was a ruler nation. If singular will was basically a ruler nation, then that's okay. But
No, it's
uh,
not okay because then the Kova could just basically self hourglass the Viego, and Viego open would be lethal.
yeah, there's so much lethal. There's so
I
much
don't think there's
potential plays
any
here,
way to
but
survive.
yeah. But man, the theme of this set was literally playing to your best outs, and I think we found some really amazing games. Wow.
Yep. Creativity, as you mentioned, the name of the game today. Ooh, and I didn't remember that Singular Wheel had the custom visual.
Yeah, do we just play stasis? But we get to play Hydra into stasis. Does stasis actually still have Viego? Because I know there's a weird bug with servituding servitude, and it doesn't actually keep the code of the unit and the
I
status.
have no idea. I have never seen it, so I don't know for sure. It would be pretty fun to see. I hope Kova plays. No, it doesn't play into it. Sag.
Right.
When we look ahead, we know
Imagine
how to
that. You just
prepare.
play stasis and Viego just doesn't come out of the board. It's just like, oh, it's just a dud. Because that does actually happen when you servitude a servitude. Um, if you've never seen that before.
No, I've never seen it.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a crazy person. I play the weirdest stuff on ladder, so I'm probably the only person who's tested servitude of servituding twice with a stasis, and yeah, there is a complete dud.
Ooh, and this is lethal in so many ways. There is no way to survive in absolutely no way. And G for Kova defeating
Turn it like
Wombat. As you mentioned, even we were talking about it even off cast. Wombats were a bit of a low standing in their group, surprisingly, and here they lose again in another match. And maybe Wombats should try to figure out why it's not working out for them this time around.
Yeah, they're really bad. You know what they say in TFT is, if you're not first, you're eighth. And that's what we're seeing right now. Wombats are definitely in a tough spot. They've been kind of, not figuring it out. Great players. I mean, like elite, right? We have Spakes, who was a runner-up in the seasonal. Also, one of the best control players. I don't know in EU, right? Normally gets like rank one with a random control build. Doesn't do anything for the season, and just like plays literally any control deck and just hits rank one.
Yes.
And you have Ghost Driver, which we said about having some insane amounts of like high win rates, and then you have Dyna and Hash, really good players, and are also very calculative, like we've been seeing in these games, but just haven't been finding it. And Hold Up here, doing justice, we don't really know who they are that much. Uh, Definitely from like the EU scene, I'm not too sure, but
I
they're
know
doing
Boki.
pretty well.
Boki's a streamer. Boki's a streamer and
Right.
also representative at EU Master for his country. Tricky. I know them because they play in the Monday Madness tournament, the Taicast with Ice-T every Monday. But the other two, Coven Winomomo, are a bit of, at least for me, newcomers in the scene or in the, like league scene of Legends of Runeterra here in EU, and it's very surprising that they are doing well. But also props to them, like they're playing with the grown ups, let's say, with already established players, and they're doing pretty fine.
Yeah, right. I forgot about Bucky. Bucky is a new roster change, and like you're saying, previous EU master, and when Bucky really cares about playing the game and being really well in tournaments, they do really well. I remember one time they won a mastering Runeterra tournament with or maybe they didn't win, but either they were first or second with Demacia Scion, and they're not scared to play anything. And that's a thing you want to see in Aegis, that is. Just being versatile, playing literally anything, and it throws off your opponent so much. Because if your opponent scouts, they're like, "Oh, I can't play around Demacia-san. What the heck?" You know. If you have so much creativity with lineups, that's a really good pickup. And I'm hopefully we get to see Boki one day as well.
Oh, I just noticed now your caster card about Sankos. I didn't
Yeah,
notice it before.
it's a great card, and one of the more win cards you can find. So yeah.
It's just the card you play. You want to play just for the clout. Just the clout
Exactly.
to show that you're better than your opponent. You just win, and when you win, the opponent doesn't have his deck at his place. There are only sunk costs.
Yeah, it's kind of broken in tournaments. I was thinking about this. I was like just walking to the shops, and I was like, hey, if you're playing Conquest and you just win your first match, just win, because the deck is just a dud.
That's true, man.
So
That's
you
true.
you just play the best decks and just try and win. Yeah, probably
And
banned.
that
Yeah.
said, though, we saw some really good series today. Unfortunately, we cannot know the outcome of Wombat's Phantom versus Sold Up series because the other matches were rescheduled due to other problems outside our like power. So we cannot know the outcome of the series. But these were awesome games to cast. Like I had a lot of fun, and I hope you had too anymore. And I hope, of course, that the viewers had a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I had a great time. I a lot of creativity. I think like card games are all about creativity. Back from like watching Yu-Gi-Oh, you just come out with the most random stuff, and when we see stuff like that just become like actually manifesting and seeing that in high competitive play, it becomes like just a really great watch and like real nail biters. So yeah, I had a really good time, and I'm really looking forward to next week.
Yes, and that said, I think we're closing the stream now. So thank you for sticking with us. Thank you, Anymore, for being my co-caster for today. And we will see you next week with week 5 of Runeterra Aegis EMEA. But before, there's going to be next Thursday, the EAM America's Shard tournament. So we're going to see you there. Thank you for sticking with us. And bye. 0 off.
Peace.